guests are seated. Let's get to meet them, and then we get the show on the way. And for the very first segment, we will be talking about the rice glut. And as you know, it's not glut in the market. It does appear it's glut on the farm gates. So why is that, and what exactly is new about this development? Welcome my guests, Yao Edupoku, agro-processor and a farmer. Good morning and welcome to Newsfile.
Good morning, Samson.
Also here in the studio, Felix Kwachi Ofosu, former Deputy Communications Minister, and Alexander Afenyomaking, MP Efutu. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to Newsfile. Right. So, as I started by way of introduction, we understand from the government through the Minister for Agriculture that 650,000 tons of rice has been harvested thanks to the planting for food and jobs. So what exactly is the problem that we currently face? As we know also, ministers like the senior minister, Yao Safomafo, have stated how rice imports could actually destroy our economy. I'll share the startling figures with you shortly. But let's begin with the rice farmer, the man who is right there and knows what exactly is going on. So we have been reading and we have seen video footages by way of news, how terrible the situation appears to be. We have seen people on the farms and we have seen sacks of rice, huge, sitting on the farms. And we've heard, for example, the Upper East Regional Minister suggest that whilst there's no place to, preserve them for now, they have about 2 silos that are almost ready, and they're hoping that they can get them ready in good time so they can be, storage for the rice. But the farmers are complaining that nobody is buying. What's going on?
Good morning to the viewers. Good morning to fellow panelists. It is true that there has been a hue and cry this past week over the seemingly rice glut at the farm gate, which cannot be felt at the consumer level. It is simple. Ghana is a one-season farming nation. Apart from the irrigation facilities that can do 2 or 3 seasons within a year. So when the harvest season comes, everybody is in a hurry to harvest their crops. And this is what is happening exactly. Thanks to the current program of the PFJ, that is Planting for Food and Jobs, and the subsidy which has been given to farmers in inputs supply, farmers have really taken the minister's word and had gone into big-time farming. The harvest is in. This is the end to the farmer. He has harvested. Now it is our turn, the aggregators and the millers, to lift the products from the farm gate, which we have been doing over the years. Now, why is this situation now? Simple. The financial institutions have closed their doors to the agro-processing sector and aggregation. They've closed their doors. No bank is giving a facility to, for example, me or my colleagues. So we are finding it difficult to go to the farmer and pick from the farm gate. In fact, as I sit here, a lot of farmers, they keep on calling me from 4 a.m. to sometimes 11 p.m. Mr. Poku, just come and take it off our hands. Why are they saying that? Because the Harmattan is just about to begin. And rice or paddy is a sensitive crop. It's not like other cereals. When the Harmattan comes in, price goes down because the moisture level in the paddy dries up completely. So the farmer does not want the paddy to be sitting on his hands.
Okay.
And we are also finding it difficult to raise finance to go and buy from the farmer. So they are even willing to give us credit. But the logistics will not take credit. And so this is where we are. I wouldn't say Cat-22, but we are almost there. We don't have the money to lift the products from the farm gates. And so most of the milling establishments are not working. This is the situation we find ourselves in. I have been in Accra for the last couple of weeks. I am stationed in New Longro, that is Kintampo North in the Bono East region. And I've moved my camp to Accra, walking from bank to bank to bank to bank. And the result is zero. So this is why you see the hue and cry all over. It's not peculiar to the north, no. Down south, go through Akuse, Asuchari, all the way to Sugakofe, Aveime. The same story. You take the central region, same story. So what we need to do is to look at the approach properly, that when the harvest comes, somehow there should be financing so that we take off the stress from the farmer. This is where we are.
I don't understand. This is a country where we spend in excess of $130 billion to import rice in a year. And you're saying that you are not getting the needed support, particularly from the banks. Is that really all that you require?
No. We are importing, according to the ministry, about $1.6 billion. As a city, I know the figures are higher than that. But this is the statistics that we have. And this money can translate into the farmer and the miller. It is not happening. Why? Because the banks find it more easy giving that kind of money to the importer, because the turnaround is quicker than as the millers and the farmers, and they can absorb the interest charges that will be put on the money that they take. So here we are, not a level playing field, and that is what we are seeing. Apart from that, when the Harmattan comes, we all panic. When I take more rice, I get into trouble, and I'm a victim. Last year, I lost about 1.8 million cedis, money that I did not have, but I lost it because of the Harmattan. Why? I don't have storage. And storage is not warehouse for rice, it's not warehouse. Storage for rice is silo, where there is a control environment.
And the government is building the silos, right?
I know government is doing warehouses.
Warehouses.
Yes, which is totally different from silo. Silos are those long, thin accoutrements. And we have taken it upon ourselves, that is the Rice Millers Association, to start thinking about silo. We have even gone to the level of talking to some people in the US to see if we can latch on into the US Exim Bank facility, and they have given us a go-ahead. So we are about to talk to Ghana Exim Bank on that.
So is it really a question of the turnaround time that the banks look at for, as it were, you put it, supporting importation rather than growing and milling right here? Or it is about the fact that about 1.17 million metric tons of rice is estimated to be consumed by us.
Sorry.
Only about 20% of Ghanaians, particularly in the urban, areas, consume your type of rice.
Yes, sir. The thing about time that you're talking about is real. The banks will ask you, do you have an institutional buyer? They are not ready to take guarantee from the open market because they are banks. And that is where we sell our rice, not to institutions. We sell it on the open market. And so we are at variance here. We need to bridge that gap, and we're finding it difficult. We don't know how to go over this. Now, talking about the rice consumption. Yes. Last year, we produced about 411,000 metric tons. They all find their way into the local tables. This year, it's estimated at 650,000. I think the number will be higher than that because this time the fertilizer went to the farmers. And because of the brigade of the national, what do we call it?
NAFCO.
NAFCO. So we have a lot of our extension officers on the ground. And so a lot of the farmers had training. And there we had AGRA and also GIZ coming in to train farmers. This is why we have such a good harvest this year. The point is that consumption is around 1 million metric tons. That is milled rice.
You spoke about the institutional bias. That's what the banks prefer because that's an easier way to deal with. We understand that you have some 20 rice importers, importing companies in this country who have agreed to buy from the local producers and millers. So is that not good enough to take what you have on the farm gate?
We are currently working on it. I am one of the conveners. The ministry started this program because it saw that it is affecting the PFJ program. And so they needed to get a way out of it. So they called the importers together, the big ones. They are bringing in about 650,000 metric tons every year. So the ministry talked to them. And the outcome was that let's call the other stakeholders. So the millers were invited. We are the anchor of the farmers. We are the anchor of the aggregator. So we were called into the meeting. We have done about a couple of meetings. The next one is next Wednesday. And what we are deliberating upon is that, look, give us just about 15–20% of your import bill. And that will be enough to take care of what we are producing. Their fear is that, can we meet the quality that they are used to? I will tell you, yes. Gone are the days.
The question is really about the quality, isn't it?
It is not. It is absolutely not.
Okay, so tell us.
Rice mill is a rice mill. It's a rice mill. We have also brought in the same rice mills that you find in Vietnam, Thailand, and China. Same. And what is a rice mill? A cleaner, a destoner, a huller, a polisher. These are the things that makes the rice. And we have brought all this across board. We have about 2 tiers. We have the what we call the Nika Nika rice mill. That is the 500 kilo, 1 ton a day, which is dotted all over the countryside. And then we have the 2 ton to 5 ton a day, an hour rice millers. These have sophisticated machinery. And what we produce is actually better than what is imported. So the question does not arise. The perception out there is that Ghana rice is not well produced. So you eat stone and you eat sand. That is yesterday. We don't have it anymore.
Do you really think that you have done enough to get people to know about the fact that the local rice, the pebble, you know, white and brown, have higher nutritional qualities and should you know, be good for anybody to want to have? Do you think you have done enough about that?
No, the honest truth is no, we haven't. We haven't because the resources are not actually there. So it makes it difficult for us. And so we are working in the shadows. That is what I would say.
You need only 15% of what they spend on their imports. Only 15%.
15 to 20%, and we are okay.
So there's no progress in that regard.
So far, so good. We've been talking, and the importers seem to be ready for this. Next Wednesday, we are meeting again, and this time we want to put it in an MOU that we are supplying you this. This is what the minister is saying. Okay. In fact, what I heard is that the minister is saying without a collaboration between the two functions, no import license is going to give it. Okay. So we are not saying that the importers should not bring, because we are not in a position to swarm the market with Ghana-made rice. There will be a gap. But what we are saying is that for the 650,000 metric tons, it translates to about just under 400,000 metric tons of milled rice. And this, when we put to the 650,000 that is coming in, is enough for the local consumption. So if they give us 20% of their 650,000, that's about 120, 130,000 metric tons. That is enough for us because our capacity is just about that.
Right. Okay. So, Felix.
Yes, I'm saying.
You listen to him, and obviously their capacity is low. We consume so much. And yet, even the little that they are able to produce, and like he says, they need between 15, 20% of what is spent, you know, to survive and to keep the business going. Why are we here?
Well, it is fair to say that in the last few weeks, there has been an upsurge in the marketing of locally produced rice. A number of media organizations have taken it upon themselves, including yours, I believe, to promote locally produced rice and encourage its consumption. And it has caught on. At the very least, the substantial awareness has been created about the matter. And everywhere you pass, social media, traditional media, it's created quite some buzz, which is good. It's healthy. But whereas the latest fervor is refreshing, the underlying conversation is not new. The narrative is not new at all. We've had this conversation over and over and over and over again. I recall that when I was in government, it was one of the things that we used to talk about a lot. You recall that in the 2014 State of the Nation address, at the time when we were having some challenges with the CB, President Mahama made the point that there were 5 items that we imported, which we had no business importing because we have capacity, we have arable land, and we have what it takes to produce it. Perhaps what has been lacking is the sort of support that is needed to ensure that rice, tomato, sugar, vegetable oil, and poultry. We try to put in a number of measures. The
rice is second most important cereal.
Absolutely.
After corn.
Corn, yes. Maize. But we do quite well in maize production. I recall that when we were in power, at some point, we supplied the World Food Program with about 100,000 metric tons of maize to supply to some famine-stricken countries. So some efforts has been ongoing. It's also important to put the discussion in proper perspective so that we know exactly where we are and we do not pat ourselves on the back and be complacent. I've heard claims that rice production has gone up suddenly because of the planting for foods and jobs, and they are mentioning 650,000 metric tons.
Yes, harvested.
But you see, that figure is rather disappointing. If all that PFJ has achieved is that figure, then it's disappointing because as of 2014, we were doing about 604,000 metric tons of locally produced rice. That was an increase from 301,000 metric tons in 2008. So if between 2014 and now, the only increase we can boast off is under 46 or 47,000 metric tons, then we have not done as much as we should. What it means is that something has been lagging. So it's important that we don't throw about figures and pat ourselves on the back when progress has been excruciatingly slow. I don't think that if this is being touted as an outcome of the planting for food and job, then we are doing much. But there's a lot
So from what is being done with the planting for food and jobs, the good news should have been
we should have been hitting about 1 million metric tons.
Doubling or even
exactly. Then we can heave a sigh of relief and say that we are doing something right. Now you speak about a glut, which means that even though they have produced this quantity of rice, they are having difficulty convincing the Ghanaian consumer to consume it so that they will have a ready market to market their goods. I heard somewhere during the week.
If you, I don't know if I got him correctly, it's not really about first convincing the Ghanaian consumer, but getting it out of the farm gates.
Yeah, but again, so if you have planting for foods and jobs, you supply farming inputs to farmers. and then after they have produced, you are unable
Minister of Agriculture.
you are unable to get or convey the produce from the farm gates to the market. Then you have a problem. It means that the intervention is not far-reaching enough, because you need a whole chain of activities to be able to start from planting to harvesting to marketing. Okay. So it is absolutely imperative that we get that right. But you see, it will not happen overnight. We need to take some deliberate steps in order to ensure that this is achieved. First of all, I'm not one of those who believes that we should shut our borders to rice imports as a way of encouraging local production of rice. That is protectionism, and we are a relatively small economy. And if countries who are affected by that measure decide to retaliate, it could create a difficulty for us. We may not survive it. What I believe we should do is to position our farmers to be very competitive so that what they produce can compete with rice imported from anywhere. Now, to be able to achieve that, we need to lower the production cost for them, so that after they've planted, they've harvested, they've polished it and done all of that, the prices at which they sell the rice will be competitive. So that if you go to a shop today and you went to the store and found rice produced in Ghana or one produced from Thailand, the only difference will be your taste. Okay. In terms of price, in terms of packaging, in terms of quality, it is high up there. So what incentive is there to go and eat rice imported from Thailand? The other issue is that they also need to do something about the quality, because we live in a competitive environment. Consumer behavior is dictated by.
You spoke about that as being a major concern for the importers.
Yes, so what we need to do is to put a lot more money into enhancing the quality, so that it can be destoned, it can be milled. If it is perfume, that needs to be applied. Even if it is brown rice, it ought to be done in a manner that meets certain specifications. That way, you don't leave the consumer any choice than to purchase it, because the price is competitive, the quality is also good. Indeed, I have been to Nigeria and eaten rice made in Nigeria. Well, of course, you can argue that they don't allow rice imports. But the quality of the rice in Nigeria is quite below the standard of what is imported. And yet, they consume it faithfully. I know of stories where Nigerians travel, they are served with rice from other countries, and they refuse, because they think that it is not compatible with the position that they've taken to market their own rice. So that needs to happen. Yeah. Again,
I just wanted the figures about the rice and the improvements in, the harvesting, how much we have been able to do. Yeah. Can you share with us? He has the Ministry of Agric, how they have
you can mention them
through a chart, how we have
over the period,
over the period, and it does appear in 2016 we did a lot better, than we may have done over a certain period. Yeah. So what do the figures say?
The figures begins from 2008 to 2008 in a 10-year period span.
Yeah. Right.
In 2008, we have 181 milled rice from local sources and 395,000 metric tons imported. And then it goes to 2009, 235,000 metric tons for local and 384 for imported. 2010, 295,000 for local and 320,000 metric tons for imported. 2011, 278,000 metric tons for local and 543,000 for imported rice. 2012, we went to 289,000 metric tons for local milled and 509,000 metric tons for imported rice. 2013, we have 342,000 metric tons milled locally and 644,000 imported. 2014, we have 362,000 milled locally and 414 imported. 2015, we have 385,000 metric tons milled and 620,000 imported. And then 2016, we have 413,000 milled and 698,000 imported. 2017, 433,000 metric tons was milled locally and 656,000 metric tons was imported. And then 2018, that's last year, we milled 461,000 metric tons and 611,000 metric tons was imported.
Okay. So
we have the production figures.
When the minister talks about 650,000 harvested, is that the same as milled?
No. At all. What the minister put across is that as at now, 650,000 has been harvested.
Okay.
A lot more, about, let's say, 30–40% more had to be harvested. So the figure is going to go, we are estimating about 1 million metric tons for this year alone.
And out of that number, how much of that?
60% is milled.
60%?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it balances the point I'm making. That the progress.
No, your focus was on the production.
Yeah, but that is what we also look at.
Yeah.
The
So
milling
let's deal with
No, see, the milling
right
bit
away.
is a gap that we need to fill, and it goes to the heart of the submission I'm making.
Okay.
That if we want to make real progress, then we need to do far more than just patting ourselves on the back on some minimal achievements.
Okay.
So yeah, go ahead.
All right. So Felix has also been talking about what he feels and he thinks from what he knows that we can do to improve the situation. What do you say, Alex?
Well, first of all, thanks to Mr. Edepoku, benefit of his being here. At least the figures are out there. But at least it's clear that efforts by government to improve on rice production is yielding results. 2, intervention such as the recruitment of unemployed, people around for the NAFCO thing is also really helping. It's not coming from a politician. These are facts that they've been training farmers, and we are seeing a corresponding effect in terms of the harvest. And I'm happy that in real terms, we're talking about almost 1 million in terms of harvest by end of year. If you compare, we've never achieved this, before. So, in real terms, government backed its words with action, and we are seeing the results. Yes, I agree with your point on the processing.
Point now is, what do we do with the results?
Yes, so that's the next stage I'm coming to. I agree with you. Processing. Fortunately, although I'm a politician, my day-to-day life is entrepreneurship. And I face the same challenge. Sometimes you see how the focus of our banks, how we would want to get access and we're not getting access. But they also have their strong points. There are good reasons for sometimes saying no. I'm happy that you talked about coming together to access the EXIM facility. I'm sure that the commitment of the minister, like withholding import licenses and say, look, let's get this thing done. Let's not go on and on and on. But let's at least take the next step, the processing, give you access so that we get the rice to the market. At least that effort is being there and you are testing to it. So we keep doing it. Felix made a good point on this, the need for local consumption, what the media has done so far. Kudos to you, the media. It's positive. No one can do it better than what we ourselves can do. Rice production, although we cannot, of course, cover the entire market, we'll still need to have some import. But from what the agro-processor is saying, the issue of sand and stones are things of the past.
You say we'll still need some import, but it does appear we'll need import that is more than half what they can give. Is that not the case?
Yes.
You cannot supply up to half what we
But
consume.
at least, Samson,
we are getting there.
The percentage that you can supply is about how much?
About half of what is consumed.
About half.
Of what is
Okay.
consumed.
So, all right.
Samson, my point here is that we shouldn't let whatever they produce go waste. A farmer should not suffer. The first stage is that increase production. You've had the opportunity to increase production. You've had the opportunity of harvesting more. Now, you shouldn't have it at your farm gate.
Exactly.
It should be out there so that you fill the gains in your pocket.
Because the program and policy is planting for food
and jobs.
For food. So we need to eat it.
Yes.
We need to consume.
Yes, but the farmer must also feel it.
Exactly.
After producing, there should be. It should reflect in my pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That's true.
After enjoying free SHS, you need something in your pocket.
It is
to
when
also buy a car.
it is when we consume.
It
is when we consume that they get the money.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
they
that's
get
why I'm
job.
saying that after, if the farmer is enjoying free SHS,
Right.
he still needs some money to make savings for university. He needs money to build a house. He needs money to take care of himself.
Yes.
I mean, this is true. It's not politics here. So I agree with you that the next stage of this whole policy is the processing, the milling. You gave us the figures. So I'm happy you're coordinating with the ministry. There's that collaboration. Dr. Afriye Akoto Afriye is an experienced person in that field. He himself, that is his field. So he knows what he's doing. And so far, everything he has said, everything he has put in place has yielded results. Nobody is doubting that. So let's keep getting on with this. I'm sure Exim Ghana is listening to us and would readily make available facilities to support processing.
Let's listen to the minister himself, Afriye Akoto, Akoto Owusu-Afriye. Let's listen to him, Dr. Akoto Owusu-Afriye. Okay. We will listen to him shortly. He's got something to say about what his ministry is doing. And, okay, let's listen to him now.
What we can do is to engage the importers of rice. At the moment, we are in communication with the 20 biggest importers of rice in this country. We've had 3 meetings with them, and we are telling them that the time is going to come very soon when they cannot do that business and give rice farmers in Thailand and Vietnam and America the opportunity over our own, because now our farmers were asleep because of lack of government support. The Kufuor has come determined that he's going to help farmers in Ghana to take their rightful place, and they are taking their rightful place. And therefore, if you want to import rice into this country, it means that you are taking away bread from the mouth of the Ghanaian farmer and giving it to Thailand, and they understand that. And we said, we are a party for the private sector. We are not here to destroy your business, but we are saying that over 2 years, 3 years, let's work on an arrangement where you buy from local millers. And they understand that. I mean, initially they were very scared. You know that in this country, any primary food that you import, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, have to give a permit. Even before you go to the bank to seek your finance, you have to come here to apply for a permit for rice, for chicken, for whatever food that you want to import. That regulation has been ignored because there was no alternative. In this country, agriculture was dead. Under the NDC, rate of growth, annual rate of growth for agriculture declined from 7.8 that they inherited from Kufuor. By the time they left, it was only 2.9%. So obviously, imports had to come in to fill the gap. But we are saying that now we are helping the farmers. Farmers are producing. So it will come a time that you cannot import.
Cultivated about 875 acres as a farmer. In all, about 1 million plus that I've invested into the farming. As I'm talking to you, I've not yet sold 1 single bag of my rice because I don't agree to sell my rice 3 bags for 2. I will never do it. I said to myself that if I produce and go and share it to the needy, it will be better than giving it away.
I have harvested about 150, and then the rest 150 is still sitting there. In fact, I have a breakdown of a combined harvester, which we don't have any part in the country. Anything that is breakdown, you have to send it to China. You have to import it from China. But before it reaches, the rice have gone bad. So now either I'll get somebody to be hired to continue, or finally fire will have to come and harvest it.
The missing link is that we address problems in silos. Agriculture is a system, and we don't have a systemic approach. So the mechanism for increasing output seems to be a reasonable response, good response. There's no functioning warehousing system, and there is no solution to markets.
We have realized that for over the years they have been relying on just one major off-taker. And we are going to unleash our license buying companies to come down here immediately and mop up the excess grains that they have here or paddy that they have here, so that they can take them to nearby mills, mill them and supply to government institutions around. We are tasked with the responsibility to reduce post-harvest loss. And the tool that we would use to reduce post-harvest loss or to eradicate it is the enabling environment to keep these stocks for government use and for food security, long-term use. We have also identified government silos of the defunct Food Distribution Corporation. We have gone around the whole country. We have identified them. And today, some people are in talks with the Honorable Minister, Food and Agriculture, to come down and rehabilitate these silos.
Right, so you heard the Agric Minister, you also heard some farmers, very, very, very disturbing stories there. And then you heard the CEO of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, Hanan Abdul Wahab. And let me come to you, Mr. Dupuku. Why do you think the buffer, stock, they are talking about what they want to do now? What happened? Is it that the farmers and you guys have not been working in collaboration, in concert, that suddenly now that things appear to be going, bad, that they are now coming in and they are now identifying what has to be done? It says they have identified some silos, they are bringing people in to come and rehabilitate. The farmers in the Upper East region were complaining that the rice is sitting on the farm. They needed silos. The regional minister said the silos project is ongoing, it's not finished, but she was going to make sure it's finished quickly. What's happening? What's the disconnect?
Samson, thanks. What I see here is that everything is disjointed. Everyone is doing what is good for them. The truth is that if we say there's a glut, I stand to be corrected. There's no glut.
No, I speak about glut at the farm gate.
Glut at the farm
gate. Not in the market.
Yeah. This is happening because we don't have the financing to pick, period. Now, when you talk about other things like storage...
You don't have the financing. Why did you wait to this time before you started meetings with the minister, the government which is now assuring you of getting the importers to help you, and you have just announced something rather very good here, that they are saying that some of the import licenses may not be issued unless they collaborate and work with you?
We started soliciting from the financial institutions way back in February. So you can see where we are. November, not one single bank is ready to sponsor us.
Why didn't you, from the start, coordinate your activities through the ministry that is now assisting you?
Because we are private sector, we have to go out there and take it from the bank, no matter how high the interest charges are. And we thought between February and the harvest season of September will be enough time for us to have gotten the money we are looking for. It hasn't materialized. This is why we went to the ministry to tell the minister that this is what is happening. But to let you know, there is a facility that the government worked on. It's called the GIRSAL Fund. Ghana is GIRSAL. I'll find the meaning. The GIRSAL Fund, as I heard, is an African Development Bank Fund at the Bank of Ghana. They've set up a secretariat. The office is at the Exim Bank headquarters. And they are supposed to help in this situation by guaranteeing 70%, and then the 30% will come from us. But it's not happening because the banks see that the interest charges on the GIRSAL Fund is negligible. So they are not happy. So they are not collaborating, period.
I see. Interesting. Now, so can we just finish up? So immediately, what should happen? Immediately, in a minute, what should happen?
The talks that we are having come next Wednesday is that we are relying on the importers to give us the 20% that we are talking about, and also to advance. We are not saying pay upfront, but to advance some little deposit for us to give to the farmers, immediately start picking.
Okay.
What we see there, by January, going even for one bag will be a difficulty. So all that we need...
The farmer was complaining that people are asking for 3 bags for 2.
Oh, that is a non-starter. The whole point is that the farmer is afraid of the dry season and the fire. Because whether you like it or not, they are going to put fire into the farmland by next month. And farms get burnt. Last year, my farmers, some lost about 40–50% of their farms before they could harvest.
So the fear that other farmer expressed is real?
It's real.
When he said the fire will come for us?
It's real. By December, and then a lot of them would have lost their crops.
Anyway.
Well,
okay.
Samson,
So, yes, let's finish up.
Right.
Before you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Samson, simply put, the first stage of intervention has been successful. That is getting extension officers to support our farmers, getting fertilizers right to the farmers. The yields are there for all to see. We are seeing the numbers. The second stage, which include the legitimate concerns, how to market these. And I'm sure the minister is working with them, and that will also be achieved.
And so this sounds like a failed execution.
It cannot be.
You have ensured that things have gone on well. Production, growing, I call it production and all, harvesting, and then at the tail end, when you must be making profits, you are now losing.
Now, Samson, you can't call it a failure. The reason is that, you see, there's a process. One stage, second stage, and from all his submissions, as a professional, as a player in that field, he hasn't pointed a single failure in terms of policy on the part of government.
I've just listened to the minister. We've just listened to the minister. Yes. We have listened to the buffer stock CEO.
Of course.
And you can tell the knee-jerk, belated actions that are coming in.
No, if that's the impression, then that's unfortunate. But I didn't get that impression. I rather saw a concerted effort, a collaboration, a continuous effort. The minister gave a background. Look, you have this inertia by the importers. And he says that, look, in the past, the law is that you need license from me. But because we abandoned agriculture, because in the past, there was some lack of interest, there wasn't the need to even follow through that regulation. They were just allowing people to import. He gave out the figures. And I don't think that my respected colleague here would dispute that. That agriculture wasn't of key concern to the then government.
Okay.
Now, efforts were made that, look, farmers, you were asleep. Consumers, you are afraid of going to eat sand and stones. Now we're going to make sure that you get quality rice. Efforts were made. People on the street who were not getting jobs were recruited. Fertilizers from the facts got to the farmers. What are the results? We are seeing 1 million tons by December, which has never happened in the history of rice production in this country. Now, you cannot say that there is a failure because the marketing bit, nobody made effort. No. There's a fund in place. And like what Mr. Dupoko is saying, the banks rather see some situation where they cannot perhaps maximize profit. But government has put that fund in place. It is for them to work with the private sector and get it done, which is being done. And please, it is too early to presume or speculate a failure. No, nobody would encourage production. Now, if all those silos that were put up, constructed many years ago, if in the past, for the past 8 years, 2009 to 2016, efforts were made to construct more silos, efforts were made to support farmers in rice production, I am sure that we wouldn't have this challenge today.
Okay.
Efforts are being made to get these warehousing system, these storage facilities in place.
All right.
Those who are processing are also being supported to get the machines to do the milling.
All right. Thank you.
There can't be any issue of failure.
Felix, finally, what you have
to say. Government ought to be commended Even
you see, Samson,
yes.
You know,
opposition
the
really has no interest
in
commending government. At least the reality.
Just some two minutes.
You know, Samson, I'll require a bit more.
To all of us, for all of us.
The Akufo-Addo government must refrain from exaggerating the outcomes of their policies and interventions. I heard a minister claim that Agric declined to 2.9% in 2016, and suddenly it is hovering in very high numbers. You see, the facts don't bear out the claim. It is true that Agric grew by 2.9% in 2016. In 2017, it grew by 6.1%. But that was only because of the pass-through effect of the policies that we had implemented. You see, their budget did not kick in until the last quarter of 2017.
Oh, good.
Now, in 2018, Agric declined from 6.1% to 4.8% when their policies kicked in, including planting for foods and jobs. In 2019, in the just recently read budget, the minister indicated that as of the last quarter of 2019, Agric was growing at 2.7%. In the first quarter, it grew around 2.2%. So really, not much has happened in terms of Agric growth. Let me stress that even the planting for foods and jobs was an opportunistic change of name from a policy that we had named Maple. That policy arose out of a $125 million Canadian dollar grant from the Canadian government, which we had began the processes to access, but came in the early part of 2017. So really, nothing significant has happened in terms of agriculture that warrants the exaggerated claims that they are making. Again, the discussion that we have had here and the consistent mention of a glut by you is an indication of policy failure. Because if you invest in agriculture for rice to be produced in large quantities, only for that rice to be stuck at farm gates and not get to the market, then you have done nothing. You have really not opened up the bottlenecks that were holding down the agri sector. So I don't know why they keep on exaggerating.
But thankfully, it does appear that a number of solutions have been rolled out.
Well, let us see the
expectation.
I think what has been rolled out is a lot of
this good thing that the farmers have done will not go waste. That will be a sin that cannot be pardoned. We take a break, and when we return, we shall be asking, is IOCO persecuting the Auditor General? We'll be right back.